Even if it feels like centuries passed, I always remember that night as if it was yesterday. Alone at a bar I sat, my arms wrapped in skin as pale as white marble and almost glowing as if diamond dust was mixed with it, rested on the ebony counter, the darkness of the thick wood making my fair complexion even paler in comparison. Both my hands, dressed in see-through fingerless gloves made of lace and satin that barely covered my wrists, were around a chalice of wine which I was enjoying in the quiet of my own little world. Of course, I didn't need 2 hands to hold it, but lost in my thoughts of a life far too ancient to be remembered, I switched from firmly holding the base of the chalice to letting one of my fingers, all adorned in expensive rings, holding rare stones and culminating in pointy nails, manicured to perfection, painted crimson, slide up and down the fine crystal, removing the fine layer of condensation that formed. I guess I would have been startled if I was anyone else when I got approached, but despite my mind being elsewhere, my senses were constantly aware, and I knew he was coming, maybe even before he did. Maybe when I noticed he left his table, he hadn't yet decided whether or not to approach me, but I was already aware that he was moving and coming towards my direction. I knew the perfect way of conducting myself to disperse unwanted attentions whilst remaining polite and classy, so when I felt he indeed sat next to me at the counter, I was all ready to follow my routine, hear his piece, after which I would have taken a sweet minute, not even looking at him, to then shoo him away in a most graceful way.
I must be hallucinating, or perhaps I've gone mad.
Because you can't believe such a pretty lady's here all alone, I mentally finished for him. I was wrong.
For I have never, in my wildest dreams, imagined that such a beauty might exist. Not the brightest of angels, not the most adored goddess. And now, not only have I seen it, but on my same plane of existence, in real life, right in front of me.
I trembled imperceptibly. These were by far the most beautiful words ever spoken to me, and more importantly, I could tell from his tone that it wasn't an attempt to flatter me. He meant every single word he had just said. That's when I turned to face my admirer and blank. Trained as I am, very few little things catch me by surprise, but one thing did. His eyes. All that I knew, my most efficient speech to make men leave me alone, suddenly escaped my mind. Little did I care, since at that second, making him leave was the last thing I wanted. I looked into those eyes, a shade of green I had never witnessed before, with golden flecks and an intensity that showed an existence of thousands of years and then some more. I saw depth, ghosts of old pains not yet fully cured. I saw a passion burning brightly. I saw a pool, no, that's incorrect, an ocean of love, an endless ocean which depths could not be measured, full of pure, genuine, authentic love, just waiting for someone to bathe in those waters, someone worthy of all that, to be loved unconditionally until the end of times. And I wanted to be that someone. Not more than a single second could have passed, but I dove into a journey of millennia, and at that very moment I was no longer the same. All had changed. I was his. I knew it, and he knew it, just like we both knew he was mine as much as I was his. Just a glance, and we were desperately, hopelessly, and totally in love. A love that burns so hot and bright it would make the fallen angel himself jealous of such fire and blind the very own sun. We drank, we talked, although the conversation was mostly carried through our eyes, which we could read like open books, as if we had known each other since the world was young. He offered me his hand, a delicate hand with artist's fingers that at the same time showed all of his male strength as well, and I took it, my lace glove in his soft and warm palm, following him to the center of the ballroom. My long black dress, made of silk, velvet, and taffeta, span around me, creating perfect circles as he made me spin, always to take me back into his arms, like he couldn't bear not having me in his embrace for more than a few seconds, and I felt the same way. It was more than wanting or longing. We craved that contact. I studied his visage, the porcelain skin, almost as pale as mine, the strong features, a prominent jawline, and very well-defined cheekbones, from time to time hidden by his chestnut hair, which grazed his shoulders and acted as a drape when he leaned his gaze down to meet mine, and his lips, so perfect that neither a painter or a sculptor would have ever made a better job, full but not too big, long in a manner that his smiles made his whole face shine, and to me the entire universe. They looked so soft, and it was becoming very difficult for me not to bite them, taste them, feel how soft they really were. But once again, I needn't say anything, for he read it all in my gaze, and our lips met. They were all I expected and so much more, and with a single kiss, I was left breathless, for lack of a better word. I managed to control myself, but then I knew it was a question of minutes before I lost my internal battle. Back to my house, naked in my baroque canopy bed, entwined in golden silk sheets, I surrendered to my lust without even being able to ask him, but of course he had no complaints. He wanted to share my curse and walk together throughout the centuries. Whether the curse itself was his desire, or it was appealing because it meant bonding us for eternity, I did not know at that moment, but before the sun rose, we were indissolubly linked, and after years and years, never have I seen the faintest expression of regret. We slept the whole day, in need of rest after the emotional overdose and the fiery passion we consumed, and as the moon peeked out from behind the clouds, we wrapped our bodies in the finest and most elegant clothes, an opulent satin dress the color of amber, with a pair of black stockings and high boots held together by endless laces that my companion was more than happy to patiently tie. How handsome he looked in his gala suit, The vest matching my dress was a beautiful extra touch. Once outside, I inhaled deeply the evening air, an habit that wouldn't die, and what I smelled was freedom. The town was ours. No more lonely sad nights on a stool listening to classical marches played on grand pianos. We could do anything, and what we were about to do was having a picnic. On a luscious spot of grass under a full moon we sat, with champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries, which we consumed between a kiss and a softly whispered poem.
There.
He pointed. Perfect, I nodded.
My queen deserves nothing less than perfection,
He said, gently kissing my hand, sending shivers down my spine. That night, we had the best red wine of our life. Years upon years have passed, and still we roam the cities in the dark cloak of nights, hand in hand, our love burning brighter than ever. We have amplified our wine collection greatly, having to expand the cellar numerous times, but almost every night, out we go. People turn to look at us. The fear that their instinct is telling them to feel is only trumped by the adoration of our beauty, our elegance, our charm.
my dear.
Alexander interrupted my journey in the memories of my past during one of our moonlit picnics. Yes, my love. I kissed his cold cheek. The winter wind was playing with our hair.
I have something for you.
I didn't answer, curious and happy, and just kept staring into his eyes, where I could read all his love as he could mine.
It's Valentine's Day.
He added. I thought bringing me to where we had our first picnic was your surprise. Alexander's face lit up with a beautiful smile that melted me from the inside. Just like that night so long ago, he offered me his hand. I took it and followed him. The view of the bright stars distracted me from where we were going. When he opened the door for me, I realized. I went inside and took a seat at a stool at the bar, ordering 2 glasses of our usual red wine.
We've had many tastings,
I nodded, agreeing. We did.
but for all this time, you thought I didn't mind what happened that night, because I knew I'd found my companion. You're wrong.
Explain.
I knew it the second you looked at me. I could see through your eyes like open doors, something I would have never even contemplated to be anything else than a myth in less than a second. I knew I was real, and I knew I would have joined you forever. I can share a life as long as times with you. I give you all the love I have, and every request your heart desires is my duty to make come real. But there is something you could never have from me. Have first unadulterated taste.
Still, I said nothing.
That ends the night.
He took from his pocket a necklace with a small glass pendant that in the lights of the establishment might have looked like a ruby. But I knew. My love.
I kept it all these years for a special occasion. Now it's yours. Now you can have it.
I shook my head. I want to keep it.
No, my precious Emily. I kept it for you to have. I want you to enjoy it fully.
I opened the tiny cap and poured the liquid down my throat. Alexander's blood before the transformation.
How is it?
He asked me, intrigued, not apprehensive, with the same class and composure he gained through all our years as vampires.
Best red wine ever.
We both said at the same moment, word by word. It was hardly a surprise, since we said the same thing at the same moment so often, our souls truly intertwined. Best gift ever, I added, smiling, not so much that my teeth would be noticed, but enough for him to know how deeply touched I was.
My queen deserves nothing less than perfection at all time,
he replied with a more grinning smile. Then we laughed, hand in hand, to make the city ours one more night. I noticed a newspaper discarded on the ground. Brutal serial killer still at large. I laughed at the half-full moon, the beams of light shining on my canines. Indeed, indeed. It's in the dustiest books that you may find the best stories.